Peace YouTube, this is Fleur Boone coming to you today. To start off, since they decided to cancel my live feed last night and delete my videos, I'm going in on R. Kelly, their poster child. So I'll wait for a few of you to check in and we'll starting the discussion. I love Florida. Warm weather is the bomb.com. Peace family. Since YouTube has decided to delete my video disclosing some of the buckery going on in Hollywood in the entertainment field, I thought I'd go in on one of their poster children. Peace to the east, the west, to the south. Yes, come on in, family. Everyone's talking about R. Kelly's new show. I haven't watched it. I think it's disclosing R. Kelly. I don't know what the if you want to go to my Patreon page, just go to Fleur Boone. You just have to put my name in, Fleur Boone, and it's on Patreon. I don't watch, this is my take. I'll wait until a couple more people check in. I'll tell you my take, because I think a lot of times people are acting as if they're shocked. There are a lot of people who are sitting here in shock of something they knew for over the last 20 years. R. Kelly is the poster child of Satanism and Christianity. Brown Christians that supported, that played, that upheld, and that propagandaed this monster. Why are you shocked? This is what I want to figure out. All these people watching this show, I haven't watched it. I don't need to. I already knew what kind of buffoon this man was. I already knew what kind of demonic pedophile he was. You know how I knew? When he married a little girl called Aaliyah, at the time she was underage, whose body looked like a little boy. That's how I knew. I didn't need to have a show to remind me of the buckery that I already accepted over 20 years ago when this bastard came out and made songs about being the Pied Piper of children. No, rather, music. Y'all sit around, and I have to blame the brown Christian community for putting this man on a pedestal, because y'all are the biggest hypocrites of anyone. You sit there suffering from Stockholm syndrome, worshiping a Jesus Christ that you propone is your God, that has absolutely nothing associated with you, that was created to mind control you, that was perpetrated and propagated to force people who look like you to be subjugated to slavery and suppression. And y'all want to support? Everyone's surprised and shocked and making videos about R. Kelly. R. Kelly was always this way. All of you knew about it. Everyone that ever bought his album, that played his joints at their clubs, that were spinning his joints when they were going to parties, that played his music at weddings, that sat there at baby christenings and played this pedophile's music, the tone and the frequency of Satanism, you are to blame. You paid and paved his way to where he is and the access he had to other young women. You are to blame. Don't sit there and act like you didn't know R. Kelly was a pedophile. Don't sit there and act like that when he was having little Aaliyah sitting on his lap, who looked like a little boy at the time because she hadn't even grown real women-sized breasts yet. And you think that you're gonna sit here and act all high and holy and act like you were shocked? Oh my God, he's been doing this for years. He's hurting the children. No, he's been doing it. What has anybody done? I've gone to parties, industry parties, when they are sitting there popping bottles to this clown. Y'all are a bunch of hypocrites. At least with the Satanists, they tell you who they are. The Baphomet worshipers, the goat worshipers, they will let you know they're down with those kind of beings, those kind of bestiality, pedophilia, all kinds of depraved sexuality, flip moding of genders. They're down with that sect. They let you know. You know what should bother you is the Christians that sit there and propone themselves as the judges of all that is unclean and unholy, but they're sitting there playing R. Kelly at all of their events. How many family reunions have you gone to and R. Kelly is like the theme for like an hour, people dancing? You have little children dancing to his songs. How do they know your songs, mommy? Because you were so complicit and complacent and sitting there allowing this monster to be a pedophile, to be a predator in your community, that you were so enamored by his glitz and glamour. The man is a beast. He is a Satanist poster child, and I blame every single one of you that supported that clown. Do not come with me telling me that you're shocked and surprised. I don't have to watch the show. I have zero support of that beast and that bastard. Just like Boombada, just like P. Diddy, just like what's the other clown? All these clowns who sit here and promote and Russell Simmons, they're all pedophiles. They're all part of the Satanist pseudo boule sect. I'm sorry. I was a little upset yesterday. Welcome. The women have to take accountability as well, but we have to overstand and understand that we're sitting in a patriarchy for the last couple of hundreds of years. So because of that, can you blame a boss if his subservient, which is his employee, decides that she wants to sleep with him? Do you blame the employee for being mesmerized by somebody with more money or paralysis, that they're susceptible for infiltration based on the fact that they feel lower or they're more subjugated in the societal standards? So do we blame them, or do we blame the predators who know much better, who have much more power, and they have much more say over what happens and how it occurs? Accountability needs to be placed on all plates, but we need to make sure that we put it in a more balanced position. Remember, I'm not all about equality. I'm about equity. Putting things in perspective where it measures up to the placement where you need to be at the same match as someone else. I'm tired of people coming to me saying, Fleur Boone, talk about unsubscribe. Please do unsubscribe. If me talking about a beast and talking about a monster who sits there and abuses children and women, and you have a problem with me speaking overtly about it, please unsubscribe. I'm not for you. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. So all I have to say is peace. Don't worry. They'll unsubscribe, but they'll always check in my videos every other time that I come live. This is all I have to say. Why am I so passionate about this? I'm actually not. It isn't passion that I'm coming from. I'm righteous when it comes to this. There isn't anyone who can sit in complicity of the harm of children, women, animals, men, trees, that would sit well in my perspective. There isn't anyone that I would be okay with that does those things. R. Kelly is one of many, but the issue with R. Kelly has always been that in the brown Christian community, and I say Christian because there's a lot of non-Christian people that listen to brown non-Christian people that did listen to R. Kelly, but there was a systemic issue and a hypocrisy that is really being placated in that sect of the community. The Pied Piper, he told you who he was. Why are people shocked that he's pissing on people? Many people, listen, people saw the video with him peeing on a little girl's mouth. That man is exactly who he was meant and who he was promoted to be. He was somebody who utilizes the underground frequency and toning that's appealing to the masses, but on the overlay and on the underlay, he is diabolical. He is a placater of family values, but he is a promoter of everything the opposite and adverse to family values. Do you know how many people sit here and listen? Remember, I'm a woman of a certain age. Let's keep this real. I'm a woman of a certain age, and I remember a time when I used to be going out, and I would have mates. One particular mate that loved R. Kelly. Do I need to tell you who this is? You've heard about him in my videos. It's the Nazi. The Nazi's best music playlist was all R. Kelly. What does that tell you? He played the frequency of the music for the diabolical ones, for people who resonate in that frequency. I always look at people side-eye when they used to listen to R. Kelly because that was his favorite thing. And I told that homie from back in the days when Aaliyah was being violated, I told him, if you want to rock with me, I don't ever need to hear that clown's music anywhere around me. If you're listening to that, that means you are basically in alignment with that type of debaucherous behavior. And what did that come up later on? He was just the same type of person, just showing it in a different angle. Does anyone listen to R. Kelly? Absolutely. This is the sad part. Yes, quite a few people. And I mentioned where a lot of the people listen. Like I said, I circle in many different communities. I'm grateful for that. I have a bird's eye view. I've gone to churches. I've gone to christenings. I've gone to weddings. I've been to funerals. I've been to dances. I've been to things are held, community functions. And the one thing that has always been in common was R. Kelly, and how preachers or preachers would be so eager to talk to their congregation about the low field behavior and treating people well and honoring your children and treating your family dynamics as if they're a priority, but in the same breath, in the same day, could have an after dinner, because sometimes churches like have breakfast after, or like a long lunch afterwards, have R. Kelly playing. Satanists have a lot of poster children. And their women are grown age, absolutely. R. Kelly is one of them. R. Kelly has been their number one poster child for years. Why do you think his pockets have stayed thick and lined with cash, with fiat? Because he is a promoter of debaucherous behavior. He is a promoter of pedophilia. He's a promoter of savagery. He's a promoter of alternative sexual propensities. He's a promoter of everything that Satanism represents. And it's so interesting that as I talk about Satanism and how there's a particular person on YouTube that every time I speak about Satanism and the Baphomet, they make sure that they make videos to re-solidify how wonderful the Baphomet is, how it is being misinterpreted by people like myself that they consider to be dumbed down. No, let me speak to this person, and I don't have to say his name. I'm enlightened enough to know trickery when I see it. When you worship and you sit there and you call the Baphomet something that should be analyzed in a way that's inverted than the way that it was intended, you too are down with the Satanist sect, and you are just a crumb snatcher off the table of all these diabolical ones who have been doing dirt to your people who look like you. So keep promoting the Baphomet. Keep telling it how it's wonderful, how you could shapeshift it into what you want to. When all these dirty ceremonies and occult rituals are happening under churches and babies are being killed and snuffed daily. Keep promoting that nonsense. Keep being the tutelage to young people, and you mothers, keep sending your children to these buffoons on the line and paying them an astronomical amount of money to promote Satanism. Mental illness is real, and let me state this. I'm not saying I'm the pillar of mental health, but what I will say to you, in the things that I do and how I show up in the world, and the empathy and sympathy and the compassion I have for life, for human life and animal life and plant life, and for everything that exists in a healthy way, I would say I'm pretty healthy and astute in that way. When you start seeing clowns making excuses for why the Baphomet and Satanism is being utilized wrong, but you see that they look unhealthy, you see that the things in their life don't look quite as right as what they're saying, listen, you need to watch who you watch, including me. If I turn right and I told you I turn left, you need to question me as well. We have promoters that are groupies of Satanists, and they placate themselves as spiritually enlightened beings. Listen, spiritually enlightened people show up enlightened. They show up in their actions, in the way that they physically look, in their environment. Everything should look at the part that they are supposedly illuminating. If everything outside of themselves is chaos, if the things that they find are fascinating, like special needs children, like this one gentleman who's a promoter of the Baphomet, who likes to talk about how you can flip mode it in your direction, talks about Satanism as if it's something that everyone should be a practitioner of, at least if they're in that sect. This is the same person that talks about special needs children, talks about retarded children, and makes fun of people who have special needs, physical ailments. But you guys want to send your children and defend this being? R. Kelly is one of many. His music has been an infiltrator and an initiator of dark behavior, especially in the brown, melanin dominant community. Many of the acts that have occurred after this man was absolutely promoting his behavior in the things that he did in his actions and in his music. If you look at how people showed up who listened to his music afterwards, he infected a whole community of people that over maybe 10 years, and you see the movement of men and how they treat women. I'm not saying he's the only one, but you can see the movement and the genre change when this man came out, and how men perpetrate on women now. How many men do you know that are perpetrating on young girls? How many men do you know that are sitting here promoting all this kind of depraved sexual behavior? That was not denotable in a lot of our communities until some of these nasty beings started to perpetuate this frequency that people are listening to, and it's infecting their minds. And as soon as they get infected, now they're conditioned and they're mind controlled to accept depraved behavior. Brown women, I'm talking to you. Because many of the supporters of this bastard who hurts and harms little girls happen to look like me. Shame on you. Don't tell me about his video. Why do I have to watch what I already knew? It doesn't take me a series to know when someone's a nasty, dirty, evil, dark-minded person. It doesn't take me a series to watch them. It doesn't take me a series. Your actions speak for you loudly. He had women in a dungeon in his house. He was peeing on girls. He had a little girl, Aaliyah, and they were running trains on little girls back in the days. You think it was just Boombada? A lot of you are complicit with these behaviors because these people have money. Wealth does not denote ethics and morality. If you've not known that, then let me give you Ethics and Morality 101. Having fiat, having lots of wealth does not equate to being spiritually astute, kind-hearted, or ethically or morally, having an ethical or moral compass that's appropriate and applicable to higher consciousness or healthiness. Where are these mothers of these young girls? Where are these mothers of the women that this man has violated and will continue to violate? You think it is only a coincidence that he's supposedly being thrown under the bus? This man's behavior has been on Front Street for years. Everything's relative. People are looking for the monster outside. Most of you don't realize the monster is inside. We are going to have to take more responsibility, and I don't want to say we. Let's say this, because I'm talking to the chorus right now, because many of you already know this. The fact that you can be on my feed and even listen to this rant, unlike the one person who said they wanted to unsubscribe to me because of the things I was talking about, it bothered them that I'm actually talking about a man pedophiling and promoting that on public platforms. Let's just say this. It's not we. Not everybody's cut from the same cloth. And this is where I go into complexionism. Because someone looks like you does not mean they are you. This is where the melanin dominant and brown community have to get that. And I shouldn't even put them in a collective community. Brown and copper and melanites and carbon beings need to realize that you are individuals that show up in the world differently. When you show up in the world differently doesn't mean that everyone that looks like you is you. Doesn't mean that everyone who has the same eye color as you is you. We are all very different. We need to stop collectively associating ourselves or putting ourselves in a bucket with diabolical beings that look similar to us. It isn't our responsibility to save everyone brown. It is our responsibility to do and show up in the world in a way that we want the world to show up back to us. The only responsibility you have is to you and yours. Observe these beings outside of yourself, but make sure you don't invite them in your house. It is one of the reasons I tell you, do not watch porn. Porn is a vortex. It is a portal that will allow deprived behavior to come into your fields of awareness, and then it becomes you opening up Pandora's box of all kinds of depraved sexual behaviors that you normally wouldn't have access or even thought to do. But now it's been exposed to you, and now you've been affected. Watch you and your children. Hold your daughters close and hold your sons closer. Because by all means, just because you're hearing about this beast molesting women, you best know that pedophiles do not limit their sexual depravities to just the opposite sex. Most pedophiles pedophile on both young men and young women. They're predators, meaning they prey on the weak, what they deem to be weaker, more accessible in ways because they don't have the wisdom or the capability of protecting themselves from something that they're unaware of because they're too green. Every child that gets molested, best know that a parent or an adult was on watch at the time they were molested. I remember when I gave birth to my daughters, the overwhelming feeling I had as a human being, the sense of the weight of responsibility that I felt as a person who birthed these vulnerable little beings into this world. I remember the first 48 hours not being able to sleep or close my eyes because I just wanted to make sure she was breathing or they were breathing, or that I wasn't missing a moment, or they were safe. I will tell you now, the feeling I had when they were born is still there. I still have the feeling of wanting them and wanting to know, and looking up and waking up sometimes, just walking to see if they're sleeping, to see if their chest is raising up and down, to make sure they're in their beds. I still have that feeling. When does that go away? It should stay with you until you close this avatar and enter into another space and time and dimension, if you're healthy. We're going into the age of awareness, hyper awareness, where all things will be seen and acknowledged. But during this time, we have to assure that we aren't being infected like the bird box and seeing things that will alter ourselves to the point where we'll hinder our frequencies. Seeing too much, being exposed to too much, it's not about the exposure to the quantity. It is the quality of exposure that you have that affects how you absorb. What it's actually the absorbing of something that could affect or impede your frequency. It's the same thing as when I was in New York. Cold. I told you I stayed underneath the covers. I was at Kirk's mother's house in the South Bronx, and I was underneath the covers because it was so cold. And you know, I don't get to watch television. I don't have television now. I have a TV in my house now after 2 years that it blew up. I finally replaced it, but I never watched I don't have subscribed television like all the channels. And as I'm turning on the television, I'm observing all the shows that I used to watch. And I will tell you, I saw from an angle that how sick and how disturbing it was that as I was watching, it was, what was it on? The Housewives of, what's the one with Nene Leakes? I think it's Housewives of Atlanta. I think it was I haven't watched any of the seasons. Remember, I used to watch the women's shapeshift on the shows. I did. I obsessed with shapeshifting. I watched it, and as I turned the channel and it was on, I wanted to see what was going on with the ladies, and I'm watching, and I felt it first. I felt it. This loathing that came over me from observing these women on television acting in ways that I'm unaccustomed to anymore. I felt it get inside of me, and then I turned the TV off. Imagine you're daily watching R. Kelly's trials and tribulations of what he did, getting testimonies. You are perpetually being infected with this low field behavior that will eventually impede on your frequency. They want you to manifest this into your lives. It's why I don't go see movies like 12 Slaves and something, The Notebook. I don't go see movies like that. What's the other movie? I forgot all the movies. I didn't go and see Precious. I never saw Precious. Why won't I see these movies? Because I know that there are certain movies beyond, and listen, I clear myself, I observe, I try to stay detached, but there's certain movies that will trigger you in ways genetic that will alter and be able to infect you, because once it triggers you, it automatically lowers your field. And when it lowers your fields, it allows permissibility in your auric field. And then you get an attachment. Precious messed you up? I refuse. I saw Precious from a distance. I saw when they first promoted, when Precious first came out, I could psychically feel the impression of what that movie might do to me if I watched it. Maybe for me, it would have triggered me. So I stayed away from that movie. I stayed away from 12 Miles and 12 Slaves and I don't know what the movie's called. I stayed away from all of them. Are there movies that I watch? Absolutely. There are certain movies that I know that I can observe without a level of it affecting my field too densely that it would take a lot to get back up to where I started. Is it 12 Years a Slave? Is 12 Years a Slave? Okay. I didn't know what that was. Okay. Horror movies do the same thing, but remember, we've been so desensitized. Horror movies don't do what they used to do. Horror movies nowadays, now watch horror movies from the 70s and 80s. I'm more apt to be affected by horror movies from back in the days than horror movies now, because we've been desensitized. So blood and guts and cinematography and all that stuff doesn't really affect us the same way. We're kind of immune to it, which is sad. It's kind of made us muted. That's why people can go around killing people and they're not fazed. Notebook. Oh, Notebook was one of them. I didn't see Notebook either. Okay, no, horror movies from back in the days. Go watch horror movies from the 70s and 60s. It'll frighten. You'll have nightmares. I'm more frightened of watching movies from the 70s and 60s than I am from horror movies now. Okay, it just depends. Give R. Kelly, the poster child of Satanists, 0 of your attention. He isn't deserving of it, and they're feeding off of the frenzy. They're feeding off of the anger. This isn't your friend. R. Kelly isn't your family member. R. Kelly isn't coming over your house. R. Kelly is not paying your bills. R. Kelly is not going to impede on your financial state of being. So keep it moving. He is doing exactly what he's been doing for over 20 years. You think they didn't know he was doing these things? Do you think the CIA... Let me explain something. There is certain people in this world that are set out to purposefully destroy and create a tragic sense of air in your perception of reality. He is one of them. It is your responsibility to give as little energy and non-support to those type of beings. I had friends who loved Russell Simmons' book. I had a friend who loved it. She loved his book. Russell Simmons wrote a book, I think, on quote unquote black wealth, something like that. I don't even know the name. She loved and promoted him. She talked his air. That man is another pedophile, allegedly. He was looking at Kimora Lee on the runway as an 11 and 12-year-old model. She's beautiful. Big up to Kimora Lee. I love you, mama. I love Kimora Lee. I respect her. I honor her. He was looking at Kimora Lee on the runway as an 11-year-old little girl, waiting for her to get a little bigger so he wouldn't look so crazy. What do you think? What do you think? And you want me to read his book and pay money and exchange frequency for that buckery? You picked the wrong one. No, you picked the right one. I had to, like, even today, I had to realize that I'm not beyond making mistakes. No, I make mistakes daily. I tell you that. And even in a perspective, I was talking to my ex-mate, which is Kirk, and I always see sometimes from an angle of self-righteousness. And I had to actually see from an angle of my position and where I play a part in hurting people, or I play a part of not seeing or understanding or being sympathetic to somebody else's disposition or position based on my own self-righteousness. So I get that. And I say to you, that's a flaw that I accept and I acknowledge, and that's something that I am working and changing diligently. And because I acknowledge it, I can then change it. But all this to say, when I see something in someone else that I know and I recognize as what nature now calls a demon, I keep my healthy distance away from them, and I make sure that my hands stay clean and that I'm not interacting with beings that get my body, my vessel, my mind, my spirit dirty. Anybody who's gone to a party, listen to me, family. I'm about this life. Anyone who's gone to a party and they've invited R. Kelly is guilty for his molesting children. Anyone who has ever played an album of R. Kelly at a children's function, whether it be a christening, a child's birthday party, what have you, you are guilty. Anybody who has played an R. Kelly song at a wedding, at a funeral, at a church function, and has sat there and danced and did all the stepping, step in the name of love, you're guilty. Anyone who's purchased his album after they knew that he was messing around with Aaliyah is guilty. Does that make them evil? No. People, I wanted to say why I was telling you I make mistakes, because I do it all the time. Listen, own up to it. Own up to it. Yes, you were guilty for purchasing his album. Yes, you were willing to look this way, put visors on to not see that this man was a dirty dog, just so that you could enjoy the frequency of his music, just so that you could be a part of the genre of R. Kelly. I've gone to concerts with my ex-mate where R. Kelly was being featured. And I walked to the bathroom when he performed, because I wasn't going to sit in a room and act like I was all kiki with this clownery on stage and give support. You can't just talk about it online. You got to be about it. If you say you're against child pedophilia, if you're saying you're a protector of children, if you're not supporting that, why would I hear you listening to that man's music around your children? Why would you be shaking your behind, acting like it's all good in the hood, when this man has done diabolical things publicly, and we don't even know 90% of the things that he's done privately that the people will never talk about? Thank you, energy. Where attention goes, energy grows. I'm not going to talk too much about R. Kelly. I want to address this. He is who he is, but why be shocked? Because he was always that. Always that. Today, yesterday, and tomorrow, he has always been, is, and will be that beast, that poster child of Satanism. Take the false shock out of your mind. You knew that already. So why react to it? It's just another day in another part of the world, or another expression of the Matrix. Sick, depraved, Satanism, Luciferianism, people talking about do as thou will. This is part of the conditioning, the MK Ultra, the form of mind control, the conditioning that the Matrix does in order to keep people in a certain state of being. Does that mean if you bought an album 20 years ago after he molested Aaliyah that you're the devil? Absolutely not. Does it mean that you are complicit in child molestation overtly? Absolutely not. What I want you to see is from the bird's eye. What you support, you give energy to. And if you give energy to it, it means you're feeding it. And if you're feeding it, it means you give it life. Take the life, take the energy away. Don't feed the animals, and you will not be able to witness this type of behavior. He could skip rocks. If he fell off the planet yesterday, Flurboom would be unfazed. If Russell Simmons fell off the planet today, I'd be unfazed. If Boombada was taken off the planet in a way that's heinous, I would be unfazed. Because I give zero to these monsters. I give zero to them. Yes, this video is giving a little inkling, a little taste of something, but this is just basically to denote that he isn't anything but what he was. He does represent, okay, I can agree. He represents, R. Kelly is a representation of uncles and daddies that are sick, that are systemically sick in a lot of communities, that are kept in families because the family doesn't want to ruffle the sheets. The family feels like Uncle Johnny has a lot of money, so they'll be complicit and just try to keep their children away from him because they know he likes to touch them. There shouldn't be any excuse to have these type of beasts around. I will say this. As I watch my children, I watch yours. How about that? You will know this with me if you met me in person or otherwise. When I watch my own children, I'm watching yours. Every child that is in my schematics or in my peripheral or in my hand sight or lengths of distance, however far I can see them or perceive them, those are my children. I will protect them as if I protect my own. That is a healthy mother or parent or person who upholds themselves to keeping those innocent ones protected. There should never, let me take that never back. There shouldn't be any opportunity for any person or thing to get eyesight or grasp of any child if you are healthy. Keep men out of your house if they aren't the father of your children. If they are the father of your children, you watch them if they drink or they do drugs or they had low field behavior prior to you having children with them. Fathers, watch the mothers, the matrons, the girlfriends, the sisters, people around your children, because I notice that men allow women around their children too much easier, and we don't talk about women who molest children, which happens to a very frightening degree. Father, stop taking your little new children that you just had with another woman and exposing her or your child to new women without any apprehension. That happens way too often when fathers are quick to introduce their children to a new girlfriend who has sick sexual behaviors, who may want to get back at you. Like I said, for every child or every woman that was violated by R. Kelly, there are thousands, tens of thousands of people who lent the energy to that beast to be able to uphold himself and to live a lifestyle where he could do that easily. People asked me once, what would you do with child molesters and men or women that hurt and harm children? At first, I thought to myself, you already know what I thought, and I can't really say it on YouTube. But then I had to rethink that, because hurt people, right? I remember my mother saying that once when I would say, I hate her. Some girl did something really mean to me, and I said, I hate her, Mommy, I hate her. And she said, why do you hate her? I said, she was so mean. She's so mean to me. She's so wicked to me. She said, do you think that she's wicked because she wants to be? I couldn't answer the question. Hurt people hurt people. Do you know the ingredients to make a beast usually starts off from coming from a beast? That being said, when I was asked the question of where I would put rapists and molesters, I said at the time something which most of you could predict. But at this time, I would say I would put them on an island with just themselves, with people just like themselves, and let them see perpetual reflections of their unhealthiness, of their self-loathing, of their deprived behavior. And I guarantee the best therapy in curing someone's deprived or unchecked behavior is placing them in the eyesight of those who are just the same or worse. That's my answer today. It wasn't like that yesterday. And my mother, I would say, her statement of saying that to me as a little girl, I couldn't take that in at the time because I felt hurt, I felt abused, and I couldn't absorb that. As an adult, I've seen time and time again men who've been neglected by their mothers or abused by their mothers, or I've seen them hurt women. I've seen women who've been abused or neglected or deprived of love and attention. I've seen them hurt people. And then I had to take in consideration that my mother's statement that hurt people was valid. And for me to want to hurt them more because they're infected with the pain and the deprivation and the sicknesses that were implanted in them as children or sometimes as adults would be doing exactly what was done to them initially. So I have to be compassionate in saying that the best remedy for that kind of behavior is to expose them to those like them and leave them idle and secluded with those who reflect the same sickness as them. And they most likely will get it. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that with R. Kelly. All of these celebrities, all these people that you put on a pedestal are just people. People who are not anything special. They may have a special talent, but that may be all that is to them. They're not perfect. They may not always make right decisions. They may even make more wrong decisions than right. But putting them on the pedestal is why there are so many hurt feelings when it comes to R. Kelly's, or there's so many hurt feelings when it comes to Bombada. There's so many hurt feelings when you say Tekashi, because too many people invest in their emotional state of being and put people that they see on television on a pedestal, and you will be disappointed every single time. Compassion for oneself and others is the key to empathy and understanding likewise. Thank you. Thank you, Dyer. I agree. We live in the most beautiful and chaotic times. It's not one and it's not the other, it's both. We can choose to see or ignore anything and everything. What I say is, you can see from all angles, but it doesn't mean that you have to absorb everything that you're observing. We have some Luciferians on here. Why are you mad, Luciferians? This is what I don't understand. Most Luciferians on my page understand what and who they are. Me calling and saying what you are, most of you, I only saw one that came on the page, and probably a young person who's just learning the craft of Luciferianism, right? Who's just getting into the mix. Most Luciferians and Satanism, they could care less what I say. The only ones who care are the ones who really don't resonate with what they practice, right? If what you practice is Satanism, and Luciferians, I don't want to put in there because that's an older, Luciferians generally, they don't, I don't phase them. Luciferians aren't phased by Flirbone. They're not phased by anybody, okay? That's older sect, okay? Satanism is a new sect of practicing religion. It's not really a religion, it's a frequency, okay? But Satanism is something different. It's newer. It's coming from a more base. It's rooted in a few occult practices that are not just based with, because Satanism is just, it's a conglomerate of different practices from different esoteric, genres. That's all it is. That's why fear is zero. You have zero to fear. If you stand in the light, that's all you have to do. Everything. The only thing that can ever come for you is what you're in the frequency of. If you're in the frequency of lightheartedness and light, there isn't anything that could come at you that could be anything dark. So that's why I say stay in your light, but acknowledge your shadows, because the shadows is where you'll get caught up, and that's where you get some ricochets from some dark beings. You have to acknowledge your shadows. We have to incorporate them. We know, you know what your shadows are, then you have to know what they are and check them. Okay? Don't discard of them, but just check them and know what they are. But there's some Satanists, some newer Satanists that take issue with me sometimes. But usually it's only when they feel like I'm, like that gentleman who makes a point to make videos, always countering anything I say. If you're truly a Satanist and you're all about the Baphomet, what are you worried about what I say? What do you care? Because I like your homeboy? Because I got a crush on your homeboy, so you care? Remember, I can't face him because he's down with you. Now, if he decides to come down to Flirbron's world, now that's when you may have to take issue with me. He won't come to my neck of the woods. He has a handler, though. Anyway, let me behave myself. Some people fear that I'm just a contactee mom that just, occasionally, talks about other things. Anyway, family, I hope all's well. I had to make this video, and just know, because they decided, whoever they are, to take my video down yesterday, that because of that, I will come and make another video even better than the one I did yesterday. So do know that Mr. Corey and I, big up to Mr. Corey who came up on the show last night. Thank you, Mr. Corey, for joining us. But because they deleted my video, we will make a new video, more organized, and then it will be more masterful. So all they did is make me remix and do something a little better. Thank you, YouTube. I appreciate, listen, YouTube, I appreciate your attention and your interception, because I appreciated it because it made me rethink, become more acclimated to some of your low field behavior and some of your antics. And now I'm going to remix the same show I had, do it even better, and make sure I back it up so I can throw it all over. Sprinkle it all over Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Yes. All right, family, I think I'm gonna go. What time is it? It's 2 o'clock. It's beautiful in Florida. Oh, Javai says Satan is the best master. Well, tell your master we said, hey. Just the fact that you said Satan is the best master lets me know that you're a novice. Good luck with that. I hope it services you well. Remember, when you play with low field beings, just know you better make sure that you can hold your own in that neck of the woods. Don't play with fire and you don't want to get burnt, because when you play with Satanists and you think that you're really about that life, don't be afraid of the dark. Some of you've never seen beings beyond your perspectives, or beyond what you conceive to be frightening. Be careful coming on my page going rah-rah for Satan, because remember, the beings that I rock with supersede your concept of Satan. Be careful. You shouldn't play in my playground, because remember, I don't come to your playground. You certainly shouldn't come to mine unless you give me respect and honor. Okay? Play your position, listen to the feed. If it resonates with you, it's cool. But be careful coming on this platform, because the beings that I partake with supersede all levels of religion and belief systems. Okay? Oh, Jesus is in the house too. Big up to Jesus. We had Satan was in the, somebody's giving shout outs to Satan, and we're getting shout outs to, this is what I'm talking about, beautiful. See the balance in the room? I love the balance. We got a shout out to, we got a shout out to Jesus. We got a shout out to Satan. This is the balance. And you see, it's okay. Like I said, big up to Jesus. Tell Jesus I said hi. Anyway, family, I'm gonna go. A lover spat over here. Ooh, get a lover spat over here. Uh-oh. I'm sorry. I'm over here observing. I love observing. I love seeing new couples. I like to see their banter. Yeah, 13th is coming. Thank you, Dire Straight. 13th is Sunday. We do our reactivation of our 13 Divine Shields. You know, many of you who are new to the channel, please join me the 13th. Remember to rock your purple and white. That is our divine colors. That day, we collectively come together doing our mantra and our shield to reactivate our shield, protecting all the life on human life, animal, aquatic, insect life, the innocent, the just on the planet. We do this every month. The 13th is one of our celebratory things. We put down our swords to one another, and we make sure we honor the elders and the youth and the animals and everyone on that day. So we should do it every day, but it'll be beautiful. So if you want to join us again, every Sunday, this Sunday is going to be the 13th. I come on YouTube at 1 p.m., which is the 13th hour, and we do our mantra shield. So join us. It's really quite beautiful. It's nice. And you'd be surprised who joins us for this. You know, the first time we ever did the shield, big up to the sea stars that actually helped come together collectively to do the shield. But the first time we did our shields, newscasters from LA joined us. We had Whoopi Goldberg join us. We had Martha Stewart join us. That's why I say, don't get mad at Satanism and Luciferianism, because we have a lot of people who partake with us in a lot of ways. That's why you never see me really go against someone. But I'm just saying, I'm not down with the Satanist sect, but they will parlay with some of us occasionally. So it's a beautiful shield, and Christians join us for the shield. People part of the Hebrew Israelites join us. The Islamic sects join us. So it's everybody from all different backgrounds, every different complexion. Lunars, carbon people, melanites, indigenous, everybody joins us. It's beautiful. Men, women, children. So I urge you, if you like, Hold on, let me. Gervais, let's see. Gervais, please, behave yourself. Be respectful in the room. You wouldn't want me to come in your house with dirty shoes, would you? So be mindful to take off your shoes before you come in my house. And if they're dirty, just, keep it moving. Go to another house where they allow dirty shoes to come in. Fairy Spell said you can't even spell. That's what I'm saying. I have a lot of children on the internet. The shield ceremony is on Patreon. I think someone's on Patreon. There's a lot of different videos. Patreon people come in and out. Sometimes I do refresher videos. I haven't done anything for a while because I was away. My Patreon, I'll refresh. Some of the things you want to know about Pheromone are on Patreon that have never come on YouTube for good reason. Okay, so you can always check out the Patreon page. And usually I'll kind of do something new with Patreon with something else. Anyway, family, I know I don't have much to say today. I'm actually quite relaxing. The warm air, it's very healing. I'm grateful to be back home. Okay, got to get the babies up for a nap. Oh, gotta go. Bye, Blue. Resonate, Storm. Yeah. So, right, I'll join you Sunday. Join me Sunday. I'm probably gonna be on Instagram tonight, talking about. There's another rant I want to go on. I only do this on Instagram. I just use for certain, like, more mundane rants. On things that are just, I'm not really Instagram person, but I'm on Instagram. So when I'm on Instagram, sometimes I talk about a lot of things, and it doesn't save my video. So I can actually do something, and it kind of fades off in the mist. I don't even know how to save my videos on Instagram, to be honest. But I'll probably be on Instagram later, doing a rant on monogamy. I'm going to talk about monogamy and how monogamy is a construct that was created for suppression of the feminine. Ooh. So any of our female sect, you want to come and join in, Like I said, I personally take monogamy as a social construct that was created for the suppression of the female. And I'll actually be able to back that up. I'm not a supporter of polygamy, remember, or polyandry, but I'm not a supporter of monogamy. So we can get into the conversation. It'll be fun. We'll do it tonight. I'll do it in like jammies. I love doing Instagram because it's so much personal. It's I think it's Dell _DELL goddess GADDESS _love. I think that's it. So yeah, we'll get into that tonight. I love talking about those. We get into fun conversations because it's much more personable. It's kind of like we're in the room, and then I'll pull people in on the call, and we'll discuss it. So tonight, let's do that. I'll kind of say tonight, if you want to get on tonight, we're going to talk about monogamy, and come on in around, I don't know, we'll see what time I want to get in. What time do I think? I say around, I'm going to make it around late. It's going to be late, like 10 o'clock for Eastern time. So 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock Eastern time. Okay. So 10 or 11 o'clock. Oh, Prince New, that's right. Your Black Swan. Yeah. Come on in. We're going to talk about, the real and, a lot of our sun stars know how I am. So, but this is not for the faint of heart. I keep it real, and I'm a woman of a certain age. So for some of you young sea stars, this would be quite beneficial for you to join me tonight to listen to this, because it'll help you in order to see the perspective from the world from a different way, so that a lot of you aren't getting hurt as often. Thank you, Marissa put it up there. Del Goddess Love. Thank you. Yeah, I think a lot of times the perspective of relationships and how we engage with it gets a little they like it. They're talking to me. The young couple want to talk to me. Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, I know I get distracted. Anyway, so join me tonight. I think around 10 or 11. Just don't hold me to it. I'll do it when, I like to do it when my little ones are, relaxed and so on. I may come in a little earlier if I have a little time earlier. It's my movie night. Gervais says, "Thank you, Satan. Big up to your world." Yeah, it's a good conversation. I thought I'd do it on Instagram because, again, it doesn't stay there, so it doesn't linger. I don't like conversations like that to linger. I feel like whoever is meant to listen to that conversation will hear it, and that'll be who is in the frequency of getting that intel. That's something I don't necessarily want to save. If I did save it, I'd probably put it somewhere. Oz, behave yourself. Oz always gets on me on that. Yeah, so Oz, you need to stop. I love it. Okay. So join me tonight. So guys, I'm gonna go. I love you. Have a wonderful day. Excuse me if you felt like I was going too hard on this topic. There won't be any addressing it again, other than little tasters. You know, if I want to say something about him. But like I said, he's a non-mother freaking factor. R. Kelly. He's always been a non-freaking factor. The only reason he has any relevancy is because people have given him that position. He needs to just be put in the dust, in the dirt, and somewhere in a dark corner, and let to just dissolve on his own. Okay, that's it. So that's all I have to say about that. Join me tonight on Instagram. Get your jammies on, get some snacks. If you want to go on live with me, this is a nice thing. You get your hair wraps on, because some of you girls, listen, I'm gonna have my hair up. We're gonna be talking. Put your hair wraps on so you can come on live and you can discuss how you feel about, and we'll get into the conversation, because a lot of people wanted to hear what happened with Kirk. So I can kind of, like I said, I can kind of discuss that, and then you'll see from a perspective that's a little more honorable in that way. All right. So love you. See you tonight on Instagram. Peace.